All right, today we're going to go inside the machine. We're going to dissect the anatomy of a cyber defense and really break down how our digital world is protected, piece by piece.
So, let's start with a big question. How do you stop an enemy you can't even see? And no, that's not some kind of riddle. It is the fundamental, everyday challenge that cybersecurity professionals are up against.
Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make that invisible enemy visible. We're going to follow the life cycle of a cyber attack, from the very first moment it hits a defense, right through the chaos of an incident, all the way to the final recovery.
Okay, let's get into it. Section 1, building the digital fortress. This is all about the proactive stuff, right? Everything you've got to do before an attacker even thinks about knocking on your door.
So the bedrock of this whole fortress? That's what we call preventative controls. Their one and only job is to stop security incidents dead in their tracks before they can even start. Yep, you can think of them as your gatekeepers, your high walls. They are your absolute first line of defense.
And what's really powerful is how these all work together, as a system. Your firewall, that's the main gate, deciding who gets in and who gets bounced. Antivirus software, well, that's like the guards patrolling the walls, inspecting everything that tries to come through. Then you've got strong authentication. You probably know it as MFA. This isn't just a password, it's more like a secret handshake, that little code you get on your phone that proves you're really you. And network segmentation? Oh, that's brilliant. It's like having locked doors between every single room inside the castle. So if someone does get in, they're trapped in just one area.
And we can reinforce this fortress even more. You've got deterrent controls. Think of those legal warning banners you see on login screens. It's basically the digital version of a beware of dog sign. And of course, you can't forget about good old-fashioned physical controls. We're talking actual security guards and locked server rooms protecting the hardware itself.
But let's be real. No fortress is ever 100% perfect. So, what happens when a really clever attacker finds a way past all those frontline defenses? Well, that's when things get interesting. Welcome to Section 2, when the alarms ring. The digital tripwires have just been hit.
This is where your detective controls kick in. Basically, they're your alarm systems. Now, they don't actually stop the attack, but what they do is scream and shout that something is wrong, and they do it fast. And that is absolutely crucial.
So, put yourself in the shoes of a security analyst for a second. An alert pops up on your screen. 10 failed login attempts, followed by one successful login from a location you've never seen before. It's just a little clue, right? But it's the kind of thing that makes your heart skip a beat. What's going on here?
So where does that clue come from? An authentication log. And this is exactly where security pros turn into digital detectives. Auth logs are just one of a ton of data sources that are basically their eyes and ears all across the network.
And think about it, there are so many pieces to this puzzle. You've got firewall logs showing you every connection, allowed or denied. Endpoint logs telling you what's happening on every single computer. And then you have something called an IDS, an intrusion detection system, which is like a digital sentry, constantly on the lookout for known attack patterns. Every single log tells a different part of the story, and it's the analyst's job to put those clues together.
Okay, so you've got all these alarms going off, all this data flooding in, it's pure chaos. So how on earth do you make sense of it all? Well, welcome to Section 3 inside the security war room. Here, we're going to meet the tool that brings order to that chaos, the SIEM. A SIEM, that stands for Security Information and Event Management System, is basically the central command center. Its job is to hoover up all those different data logs from every corner of the organization and pull them all into one single place for analysis.
So what's the first magic trick a SIEM performs? It's something called data normalization. See, a raw log from a firewall looks completely different from a log from your laptop. They don't speak the same language. The SIEM acts like a universal translator. It takes all these messy, different formats and standardizes them into one common language. Just like that, chaos becomes clean, searchable data you can actually do something with.
But clean data isn't enough. The next step is to add meaning. It's called asset context enrichment. Take a look at the alert on the left. Unauthorized access on host SRV 101. Okay, so what? What even is SRV 101? But look at the alert after the SIEM does its thing. Urgent alert. Unauthorized access on primary customer database. Whoa. See the difference? We've added business context. Now we know this isn't just some random technical glitch. This is a potential crisis.
All right, so let's say the team has contained the threat. The fire is out, but the work is far from over. That brings us to Section 4, recovering from the attack.
Now it's time to repair the damage and, this is so important, learn from what just happened.
This whole phase revolves around what are called corrective controls. These are the specific actions you take after an incident is over to fix the problem, clean up the mess, and get things back to normal.
And these actions can be pretty serious. We're talking about restoring critical data from backups, which, by the way, is why having good backups is absolutely non-negotiable. It means finding and patching the exact vulnerability the attacker used to get in. And a lot of the time, it means completely wiping infected computers and rebuilding them from scratch, just to be 100% sure no trace of the malware is left.
Now, this recovery process shouldn't be a chaotic scramble. The best teams are guided by what we call administrative controls, and the absolute king of these is the incident response plan. Think of it as a playbook. A prepared organization has this thing ready to go, and it tells everyone exactly what to do, who to call, and how to respond calmly and methodically, instead of just panicking.
And that brings us to the final, and you could argue the most important phase of all. Section 5, Smarter Defenses for Tomorrow. This is where you take everything you learned from the attack and use it to evolve, to shift your strategy from being reactive to being truly proactive.
This is where the real learning happens, The best security teams are always evolving. They use automation, that's a huge game changer, to respond to common threats in seconds, not hours. That frees up the human experts to tackle the really tricky problems. They're constantly updating their detection rules to catch the latest attack methods out in the wild. And they are always fine-tuning their alerts, cutting down on the noise from false alarms so they can focus on the signals that actually matter.
When you look at this whole cycle, you see the real truth about cybersecurity. It's not some destination you arrive at. It's a never-ending process, a constant loop of defending, detecting, and adapting, which kind of brings us full circle, right back to the beginning, and leaves me with one last question for you to think about. How strong is your first line of defense?